Welcome to the second episode of Soul Path, the moon in your birth chart. We are looking at the moon and the different meanings and organizing each episode according to the elements of your moon. So in this episode, we're looking at the fire moons. That's moon in Aries, moon in Leo, and moon in Sagittarius. With me on this journey through the moon is Thomas. Thomas, are you ready to take a look at the fire moons with me?
Hi, Katisha. Yes, I am. I'm excited to walk through these elements with you today.
So in the first episode, where we gave a bit of an overview of what listeners could expect, we talked about the fire element, it being connected to charisma and expression. What's your feeling of the three fire moons? Is there anything that you find is similar between the three moons before we jump into each individually?
Yes, Katisha. So the fire energy we will see in each of the zodiacs where the moon is located. But the quality it has is maybe slightly different because if we look at Aries, for instance, that is a pure fire energy, forcing, surviving. Whereas if we look at Sagittarius, that is a also fiery energy that is more containing, so to say, philosophy, wisdom, and an expanding energy that is, so to say, of a more mature quality. And I think we will decode this in just a few minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the expanding quality within Sagittarius, because when I was thinking about the different moons, I had the impression that the fire moons all have an element of expansion within them, but the way they express that expansion is quite different. Like you said, I experienced Aries in expansion and moving forward. It's what we consider to be a cardinal sign, meaning a sign that really takes initiative. It's a doer sign. And then you have the expansion within Leo, which is, creativity, showing the self, wanting to expand the self as in sharing the self with others. And then you have Sagittarius, which is like expanding the mind, embracing new ideas, new places, allowing one's truth to kind of connect with others' truth. So I think within the fire element, we both agree that expansion is a large part of it.
Absolutely, Kadisha.
So why
and
don't
it makes
we
it also so lively and special. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into Aries. Aries is quite a powerful sign, as you mentioned, being one of thrusting forward. But we're also talking about the moon, which has an element of water. So we've got the fire of Aries being combined with the water of the moon. And as we mentioned in the first episode, the moon is directly connected to where we find our emotional security. It's connected to our intuition. So how do you think these two elements come together in the sign of Aries, this fire and this water?
So for me, here, two very opposite qualities come together, as you mentioned. So the moon, who is receiving, its more passive quality, and the dynamic and giving and forcing energy of the sign Aries. And one could also translate that into passivity and activity. Yeah. And Aries, that is the active part, and the moon is the passive part. And these are two forces that are, so to say, competing with each other. And from my view, what happens in life is that the more powerful part is Aries. So the fire energy wins, so to say. And so that means that the moon part is not always, so to say, observable, yeah, or so obvious in life for people who have their moon in Aries. And this could mean that people who have their moon in Aries are kind of a bit impatient or restless. This is the fire energy. That is the dynamic that drives the people, and we would not assume that there is also this part that is more emotional and that is, so to say, passive, and that is really sensitive.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how you look at this, but this is so what immediately came into my mind for Aries.
Yeah, I like that. The sensitive is kind of hidden within the Aries moon. A lot of times in my experience of the Aries moon, particularly in children or in younger people, there's this readiness to debate, readiness to discuss.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily the type to just let something simply wash over them. They're willing to engage. There's an energy of engaging, which in children, I think sometimes the parents might find as a bit of a challenge. And because of the dynamic energy that an Aries moon can have, like you said, that sensitivity is sometimes overlooked. But we need this energy. We need this pressing forward, this willingness to speak on the things that others might prefer to sweep under the rug. You know, Aries is there to help us to look at things, to name things, and to talk about these things.
Absolutely, Kadisha. And I think important to understand, if a child has its moon in Aries, that there is this powerful force, but there's also this hidden emotionality and feelings, and that both are allowed to be. Yeah. So that is, I think, important just to show the children that both is okay. Yeah. And I think that otherwise it's like, you know, you have this fire energy, and if you don't allow them to expand and to be articulated, yeah, to come into a form, then that creates a pressure. And then all of a sudden the child explodes and has then a very dynamic, you know, behavior, and that confuses the whole family, maybe. Yeah. And so this is awareness about this, I think, is a good element for just letting children develop, with the moon in Aries. What do you think about relationships when we look at this? And there is a person that comes with moon in Aries, let's say, gets to know another person. And how would you describe the energy or the qualities, how this all gets started and maybe evolves? So I would describe it as a emotionally powerful start into the relationship. And when this is settled and we come more into, so to say, a phase where people move together in a flat or whatever, then this is important to keep that. How can I say? Then it is important to understand that there is a lot of energy now that needs to find its way. So what I want to say is, we have a fiery start, getting to know each other with a lot of passion and love. And that is the fire energy that makes it also so interesting, yeah, to get to know a person with moon and Aries. And then over time, you enter into a more deeper relationship, and the other people opens up emotions and feelings. And then it's getting a new quality. And here it is interesting to be aware that this is not exactly what a person with moon in Aries is prepared for. You know what I mean? The real feelings, the deep feelings, and then what makes a relationship, so special.
Yeah, I think being together with a person with a moon in Aries is very valuable to appreciate the opportunity to name things. So, you know, you speak of moving in that passionate energy. Aries is a sign that is willing to go into spaces others might be afraid to move into. So I think one opportunity for a person with a partner who has their moon in Aries is to appreciate their courage, appreciate their willingness to look at things that others might feel uncomfortable, because there's an opportunity in transparency. There's an opportunity in being aware of things. Awareness is always the beginning of love. It's the beginning of healing. It's the beginning of very positive things. Although we might grow up in cultures that prefer to repress or suppress, the Aries moon is often calling a person out and saying, let's not repress this. Let's not suppress this. Let's name it. And let's allow that energy to move through us. So one thing that might be valuable if one has a partner or a child with a moon in Aries is the opportunity to do sports, do some kind of movement. Even if you're doing art, it might be extra special to do art that requires physical movement, whether it's laying canvas on the ground and, you know, using the hands or the feet or the body to paint, or One project I did with children often was to take clean toilet brushes, dip them in paint, and just throw the paint onto a canvas. This type of movement, even if it's movement within artistic spaces, which is like acting, doing an acting class, or if it's movement in the space of sports, something that allows you to physically channel energy and allow it to move through you can be very helpful for an Aries moon, because they've got a lot of power moving through them, and it's going, like you said, to need a channel.
Absolutely. And I like the picture, what you said with the brushes. So I'm right into it.
And these Aries moons might also be an example to others who are repressing and suppressing, and saying to them, if you do have feelings and emotions that need expression, it is okay to do so. Not only okay, it's actually necessary. It's a part of life.
I can't agree more, Kadisha. Absolutely. So what also comes into my mind, if you have your moon in Aries, you could also check, of course, are you aware of your feelings and how good can you express, so to say, topics that you don't really like or that you would like to address? How easy can you do it? Because as we just said, this is like a channel. How good can you express topics that you want to clarify? Because we have heard it's important to do so. And this is an important channel also for this energy quality, that people have with moon and Aries. On the other hand, a good question is also, to what degree am I able to accept others in these discussions? Mm-hmm. Because the fiery energy is, as we said, this is surviving. That is, so to say, making the ground, paving the ground. So, and in life, it's always two, and sometimes it's also important to be able to accept others' meanings or suggestions or positions, so to say.
Yes, definitely. It's kind of an impulsive energy, and in relationships, if you think about Libra being the polarity of Aries and how important it is within astrology to embrace polarities, Libra is an energy that really allows for balance, that allows for other viewpoints, for people to express their needs. And it can be important for Aries moon to embrace Libra qualities, which allow for both to express, both to voice their needs, and to, as a team, find an outlet as well as a solution for that energy. So why don't we move on into the Leo moon? So when we were talking about Aries, you mentioned it was an energy of survival. Yeah, that's the soul basically coming into the body, starting a new adventure here on Earth. And now we've got Leo, which is the soul connecting to creative expression. It's the soul wanting to really self-actualize. So when we talk about the moon and finding emotional security, this may be an individual who finds emotional security in the ability to be seen. So Leo moons may find emotional security in the space of creative expression, in the space of visibility. And one thing we notice about when someone is performing, when someone is visible, then there's an opportunity for appreciation. And one thing we learn in astrology is that Leo is deeply connected to the energy of appreciation. Is that something that you also picked up on your path, Thomas? So basically that Leo moons could be open to and desirous of appreciation as an opportunity to receive feedback for the creativity that they are expressing.
Absolutely. So the people with moon in Leo, these are people that are on stage. They are radiant. Yeah, they are creating things. And of course, they also appreciate, so to say, to be seen, to be recognized for that. And they are in a way also the typical leader, by just being there, coming into a room, occupying it. All the people were just chatting, we know the situations. The Leo moon person enters a room and all of a sudden talking stops and people all look at this person. Mm-hmm. So that is the energy. Yeah. And that is also a strength because these people are able to lead and guide people. Yeah. And also to inspire them with their sunlight, I would say, with these rays of sun. Yeah. And on the other hand, there is there is this part that needs this recognition and this audience that people confirm, because it's always a bit about, the identity of the Leo, needs to be confirmed. This is developing, and that's why they reach out to the stage. They are there for others. They inspire. On the other hand, they might be a bit overactive, appear to others. And what they get back is a confirmation, and that makes them stronger, even, no? That people are looking at them and appreciating what they are doing and so on. So the fire energy is, so to say, how they express themselves to others, and behind, and this is the moon part, from my point of view, and Katisha, please, I'm curious how you look at this. The moon part of this is also kind of, there are the emotions, there are the feelings, and here the Leo always kind of asking for the confirmation from outside,
right,
to feel comfortable, with its feelings and emotions.
And that's where I feel like Leo moons have an opportunity for awareness, an opportunity to be aware of this need and desire for appreciation and to understand its purpose, so that they are not necessarily moving into a space where they feel that in order to feel secure within themselves, they need the validation or the appreciation of others. So it's almost like keeping a balance between understanding that Leo is meant to have a platform, Leo is meant to be seen, Leo is meant to be on that throne, but at the same time giving the self the type of love that is needed from within, as opposed to developing a habit unconsciously or subconsciously of allowing others to validate or invalidate who and how they are. In our society, we must really, really trust our creative impulses, as long as they're, especially for the highest, greatest good of others. We've got to trust these creative impulses, because sometimes when a person is a pioneer or a trailblazer, which often fire signs are, we cannot always wait for or rely on validation from outside before we take that first step into creative expression. So if you have a partner with a Leo moon or a child with a Leo moon, I think it's definitely important to give them appreciation as confirmation that their creative expression is useful and a blessing, but at the same time to encourage and support them in finding that emotional security and that appreciation within. Because when we find it within, when we find it in connection to source, then it's basically a fountain that never ceases. It never runs out. Whereas when we're searching for it from outside, it's inconsistent. It's not always healthy, not always helpful. But when we're seeking it from within, then we're connecting to a power that is eternal. I don't know if this is true in the astrology that you learn, but we also learn, just fun fact, that moon in Leo or moon in the fifth house can be connected to also having very many children. This was in starseed astrology. Yeah, that's what we learned, that, people with a moon in Leo will often be connected to having many children, particularly since the fifth house or Leo is connected to children.
I can agree with that. So what I learned is that exactly with founding a family, having children, that is a good way to find this balance, between your fiery part that is creative, that is moving forward. Maybe there is an aspect of dominance in it, and the moon part that is, so to say, caring, being, so to say, there for others, and which is actually in this energy. So I totally agree, Kadisha. And maybe to add one more aspect, this balance is important, and to get there or to check, you could ask yourself a bit, how do I level my emotions? If you ever have thought about this. So how easy is it for me, or do I sometimes struggle with that? Because that is what Leos have to manage, so to say, in their life. So each sign and moon in sign has its own little homework, so to say. And this is maybe a question one can ask itself.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, that question's great for all of the moons, I would say, but I agree, particularly important for Leo.
So, Kadisha, should we then move on to the third fiery sign, which is Sagittarius?
Yes, please.
Which is, so to say, the I at the beginning said a fiery quality that is connected to expansion, to philosophy, which is more mature, I would say. If we look at this from an angle that Sagittarius also represents a life phase, I'm not sure if you also look at this in your theory of astrology. And the life phase Sagittarius also represents is where we have an age where we are between 45 and 56. And if we think about this age, people are, they are settled in life and they have a certain wisdom, they have experience and they know what to achieve and how things work and so on. And so the fiery energy with this knowledge, I would simply put it, has, so to say, then this energy, it's moving and expanding, so to say, in areas that are moving in areas like, connected with ethical aspects, with wisdom I already mentioned, and also morality aspects start to playing, so to say, a role here. It's not the pure fiery energy as we have seen it in Aries. Yeah, it's also an active energy as all the fiery energies. For me, it stands for searching for meaning. So people with moon in Sagittarius may feel like, asking themselves a lot of these questions. Why is that? And why is it so? And why am I here? Or something like this. And would you see that the same way, Kadisha?
Yeah, definitely. Sagittarius is an energy that's deeply connected to pondering, to understanding the beyond and sharing ideas. So often what's happening is, like you said, they're wanting to get into the depths of things and also to really expand, to kind of go beyond and really engage in thoughts that are often connected really to the superconscious,
Yeah.
Often, if you have a Sagittarius moon in front of you and you're having a conversation, you can really engage in pretty deep conversation if the Sagittarius moon is willing, because they are often energies who are open to this depth of thought. And we associate, the soul, basically in evolutionary astrology, talks about Sagittarius or the ninth house being connected to the soul, embracing a belief system, embracing truth, expansion of ideas, the sharing of ideas. One aspect of the Sagittarius moon that I think is really important to mention is this aspect of humor, because humor is often associated with the sign of Sagittarius. There's an energy of optimism and hope. So, if you're talking to someone with a Sagittarius moon, they may not see a situation as dark or as hopeless as another might see it. Or I've even had experiences where people connected to the energy of Sagittarius, when bad things happen, they will tend to crack a joke or make light of it or laugh. And sometimes others may misunderstand this energy or this intention. Sagittarius, again, is deeply connected to optimism. And it's important for a Sagittarius moon to always feel hopeful. This is the energy of looking on the bright side of life. And so if you have a child who has their moon in Sagittarius, even when difficult things are happening, it's so important to engage with the child in a way that helps them to see the bright side, helps them to feel hopeful, helps them to remember that there's more to life than just, difficult situations. And people with this moon can really help us to remember to laugh at things. It's an energy that's saying this too shall pass. But you can also encounter a Sagittarius moon that is sometimes so overwhelmed with the difficulties of what is going on in the world, because they have such a philosophical mind, because they're so willing to engage in what's going on and the deeper meaning of these ideas. It's important for them to really make sure to keep humor and excitement and fun a part of their lives. That is an essential component of the Sagittarius moon, is understanding that life is always offering us some kind of light, some kind of radiance, some kind of fire.
Absolutely. I'm happy that you mentioned this, because there is also an energy or in people with moon in Sagittarius that might suffer a bit, so to say, from these profound things that you just mentioned, in life, and that are not going well and so on. And then they start longing, so to say, to this other world and so on, and which is actually okay. On the other hand, it's good to find, as you said, the bright light in all of these things in real life, and to just be open to that and to accept it. And I think if we look at two people coming together, and one is Sagittarius, moon in Sagittarius, what I have learned in the archetypal astrology, for this archetype, we call that it is very important to have a common theme or project together that I can, besides the relationship and the love and all this, that we can bring to this world together. So this will, so to say, bring the flow into the relationship. Yeah. Also, I think people tend to be not this type of person, love at first sight, so it takes time to get to know the other person, to understand its thoughts, its philosophies and experience and so on. And then the light gets on, so to say, and this can create a wonderful love relationship.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Thomas. I think that's a great place to slowly end the episode. We are so appreciative of our fire moons. And before we end it, do you have a question maybe for the Sagittarius moon, what one could ask themselves?
Sure. So, as I mentioned in the first episode, I have my moon in Sagittarius, and I started questioning myself, how easy can I deal, so to say, with my daily tasks? Is it something where I see always the light at the end of a tunnel, or is it sometimes dark? So, and when I started this kind of conversation with myself, that helped me to feel more positive about it, because then it was like a game, like a dialogue, with this part in me. So this question, I think, could be interesting. So that could be a question, Kadisha.
Well, thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. This has been a great episode. If you all are interested in listening to a description of the moons in air signs, earth signs, and water signs, then please check the description below where you can find the links.
Thanks for listening. Please post your moon in the comments below, or if there is something that resonated or something about your moon that we didn't mention, then please feel free to share with us in the comments. Let's keep this really a conversation and opportunity for learning.
If you found this information informative, then please like and subscribe so that you know when something new is available. See you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening.